It is the end of the month. Your credit card bill is sitting there, larger than you expected. But you still order dinner like nothing happened. For a few minutes it feels good. Not rich, not careless, just normal. You tell yourself you deserve one easy night. You have been stressed. You will handle it later. But that feeling, the relief of spending while already owing money, is not random. This is the trap of feeling normal in debt. Debt does not always feel like panic. That is the part nobody prepares you for. Most people imagine debt as a dramatic thing. Phone calls from banks, sleepless nights, a card getting declined in public, a kitchen table covered in bills, while someone stares at the wall. Sometimes it is that, but most of the time debt feels quieter. It feels like buying coffee on the way to work, because the day is already hard. It feels like adding one more item to the cart, because delivery is free if you cross a certain number. It feels like going out with friends because saying no would make you feel poor in a way the debt itself does not. You are not celebrating. You are not trying to impress anyone. You are trying to keep your life from shrinking. That is why the behavior is so hard to stop. From the outside, it looks irrational. You owe money, so why are you spending more? You already have monthly payments, card dues, maybe a loan app notification waiting in the corner of your phone. The spreadsheet says you should cut everything. But humans do not live inside spreadsheets. They live inside moods. They live inside routines. They live inside the version of themselves they are trying not to lose. A woman I know once told me she was paying interest on 3 different cards, and she still spent 4,000 rupees on dinner for a friend's birthday. She said it almost like a confession. Then she said something more revealing. If I had skipped it, I would have felt like debt had officially taken over my life. That sentence explains more about money than most finance advice. She was not buying food. She was buying proof that she was still okay. A man in Mumbai told me he knew he was drowning in personal loans, but he kept ordering small things online. Phone covers, headphones, skincare, things he did not need but could still justify because each purchase was not the problem. One purchase was small. One purchase was harmless. One purchase was normal. And that is how debt becomes dangerous. Not because every decision is huge, but because every decision feels too ordinary to count. You are probably thinking you would just stop, freeze spending, cancel everything, eat at home, say no for 6 months, become disciplined, maybe, but stay with the feeling for a second. Imagine your salary comes in. For 1 hour, your account looks alive again. Then rent leaves. Then the monthly payment leaves. Then the card auto-debit leaves. Then the app deducts something you forgot about. By evening, the money is already half gone. Now your brain has a choice. Can accept the real situation, which is painful, or it can search for one small action that says, life is still normal. That small action is usually spending. Not because you are weak, because normal is one of the most addictive feelings in a financially unstable life. And the financial industry knows this better than you do. Credit cards are not designed to make debt feel like debt. They are designed to make debt feel like access. By now, pay later is not designed to feel like a loan. It is designed to feel like convenience. Minimum payments are not designed to show you danger. They are designed to show you that everything can continue. The system does not need you to feel rich. It only needs you to feel normal enough to keep going. That is the question we need to answer. Why does the feeling of being normal lead so reliably to staying broke? The mechanism is called normalcy anchoring. It is the moment your brain adjusts to a financially dangerous situation and starts treating it as the new ordinary. First, debt feels like an emergency. The first time you miss a payment, your body reacts. Your chest tightens. You check the app again and again. You calculate. You promise yourself this will never happen again. The first time you carry a credit card balance, it feels wrong, like you have crossed a line. But then nothing dramatic happens. You wake up the next morning. You go to work. People still speak to you the same way. Your card still works. Your phone still works. The bank sends reminders, but life keeps moving. That is when the anchor shifts. Your brain learns a dangerous lesson. Debt did not destroy me today, so maybe debt is not an emergency. This is how humans adapt to almost anything. It is usually a survival feature. If every stress stayed as intense as the first day, you could not function. The brain reduces the emotional volume of repeated pain so you can keep living. But with debt, this adaptation becomes a trap. The first 10,000 rupees you owe feels heavy. After a few months, 10,000 rupees becomes background noise. Then 50,000 rupees feels terrifying. After a while, that becomes normal too. Then 2 lakh rupees becomes a number you avoid looking at directly. Not because you do not care, but because your nervous system cannot stay alarmed forever. So it stops. And once debt stops feeling abnormal, spending inside debt starts feeling acceptable. This is the hidden shift. You are not deciding, I want to sabotage my future. You are deciding, I want today to feel like a normal day. That sounds innocent, but the brain uses normal as permission. If your reference point is 0 debt, then owing money feels like a signal to stop. If your reference point becomes constant debt, then owing money feels like the environment you operate inside. It is like living near a noisy road. The first week, every horn irritates you. A month later, you barely hear it. The noise did not disappear. Your brain just stopped treating it as special. Debt works the same way. The interest is still there. The risk is still there. The future income already being claimed is still there, but emotionally it fades into the background. This is why people can be deeply stressed about money and still spend money in ways that look casual. The casualness is not proof they are comfortable. It is proof they have adapted. And adaptation can look exactly like denial from the outside. There is another layer. When you are in debt, every responsible choice can feel like a loss of identity. You do not just give up a meal outside. You give up being the person who can go out. You do not just cancel a subscription. You give up being the person who has taste, options, comfort, a small private life. You do not just stop buying clothes. You give up the feeling that you are still moving forward. Debt already takes future money from you. If you also let it take present dignity, the situation becomes emotionally unbearable. So your brain negotiates. It says, we will be responsible tomorrow, but tonight we need to feel human. That sentence ruins budgets every day. Not because the dinner is evil, because the dinner becomes emotional proof that nothing has to change. This is why financial self-sabotage rarely feels like sabotage while it is happening. Feels like relief. Feels like self-care. Feels like keeping your head above water. The trap is that debt creates pain, and then spending offers the fastest temporary escape from that pain. The same system causes the wound and sells you the bandage. You feel trapped by bills, so you buy something to feel free. You feel ashamed of owing money, so you spend in a way that makes you look unaffected. You feel behind in life, so you purchase a small symbol of progress. Each time, the purchase solves an emotional problem for a few hours. But financially, it deepens the original problem. That is why advice like just stop spending misses the point. People are not only spending for the object. They are spending for emotional regulation. A 700 rupee order is not just food. It is control after a day where everything felt controlled by banks, bosses, rent, and due dates. A 2000 rupee shirt is not just fabric. It is a small argument against the fear that your life is shrinking. A weekend trip on a card is not just a trip. It is proof that you are not the kind of person who has to disappear because of money. Once you see this, the behavior stops looking stupid. It starts looking human. And that is exactly why it is dangerous. Because the most expensive traps are not the ones that feel reckless. They are the ones that feel emotionally reasonable. Normalcy anchoring also explains why debt grows in steps. People rarely wake up one morning and decide to destroy their finances. They cross one emotional line at a time. First, they use the card only for emergencies. Then they use it at the end of the month. Then they use it because salary is coming next week. Then they use it because the balance is already high, so one more purchase does not change the story. That last thought is brutal. When the debt feels too large to fix quickly, small spending starts to feel irrelevant. If you owe 2 lakh rupees, what difference does 800 rupees make? Mathematically, it makes a difference. Emotionally, it does not feel like one. This is called the collapse of marginal pain. When the total problem feels overwhelming, each additional mistake feels smaller than it is. That is why people who are already in debt sometimes spend more freely than people with no debt. Not because they have more money, because the emotional penalty of spending has been numbed. The first bad decision hurts. The 10th feels like Tuesday. And by the time debt feels normal, the person no longer needs to justify every purchase. The debt itself has become the permission structure. I am already in it. That sentence is one of the most expensive sentences in personal finance. The way out is not to shame yourself for wanting normal. Wanting normal is not the problem. Normal is what people reach for when their life starts feeling unstable. It is the mind trying to protect itself from collapse. The problem is letting creditors define what normal means. If the bank can make debt feel normal, it can make interest feel invisible. If an app can make borrowed spending feel normal, it can turn your future income into today's lifestyle without you feeling the handoff. If minimum payments can make survival feel normal, you can stay trapped for years while believing nothing urgent is happening. So the first shift is not discipline. It is interpretation. You stop asking, can I afford this payment? You start asking, what version of normal is this purchase protecting? That question changes the purchase. Not by making you guilty, by making it visible. Suppose you want to order food while carrying a card balance. The old question is 600 rupees really a big deal? That question is too easy to beat. Your brain will always find a way to say no. It was a long day. You worked hard. Cooking will take time. Everyone spends this much. One meal will not fix the debt. All of that may be true. But a better question is, am I hungry? Or am I trying to feel unaffected? Those are different problems. Hunger has many solutions. Feeling unaffected is more expensive. Suppose your friends invite you out, and you know the night will cost more than you should spend. The old question is, can I somehow manage it? You probably can. Debt makes almost everything manageable in the short term. A better question is, am I paying to belong, or am I choosing to be there? Again, no shame. Sometimes belonging is worth paying for. But when you name it, the illusion breaks. You are no longer pretending it is only dinner. You are seeing the emotional invoice. Someone who sees the trap does not become a cold machine. They become harder to manipulate. They understand that the feeling of normal is valuable, so they stop buying it at interest. This is the key. You do not need to eliminate normal pleasures. You need to stop financing emotional proof. There is a difference between spending that supports your life and spending that argues with your fear. Spending that supports your life is chosen clearly. It fits inside a boundary. It does not need a dramatic justification. Spending that argues with fear has a different texture. It is urgent. It says, I need this so I do not feel poor, behind, trapped, embarrassed, or small. That spending usually happens fast. It happens after stress. It happens when you are alone. It happens when you are comparing your life to someone else's. It happens when your account balance has already hurt your feelings. The person who sees the trap starts tracking that texture. Not every rupee. The state they are in when money leaves. Because debt is not only a math problem. It is a mood problem wearing numbers. One practical behavior breaks the pattern better than most advice. Create an abnormality signal. Debt becomes dangerous when it blends into the background. So you need a small ritual that makes it visible again, without turning it into panic. For example, before any non-essential purchase while carrying debt, you check the total amount owed. Not just the available balance. That sounds simple, but it changes the emotional frame. Available balance tells you what you can still do. Total debt tells you what already has a claim on you. Credit systems train you to look at access. You have to train yourself to look at obligation. If your card says you have 35,000 rupees available, your brain hears possibility. If your debt tracker says you owe 1,84,000 rupees, your brain hears context. The purchase may still happen, but it happens in reality. That is the goal, not perfection. Reality. Another behavior is to give normal a cheaper shape, before debt gives it an expensive one. If the real need is relief, choose relief directly. If the real need is dignity, protect dignity directly. If the real need is connection, do not automatically choose the most expensive version of connection. This sounds obvious until you notice how often spending is a shortcut to an unnamed emotional need. You do not want the food. You want the day to end softly. You do not want the new shoes. You want to feel like you are not falling behind. You do not want the expensive night out. You want to avoid the humiliation of explaining your situation. Once the need is named, money stops being the only tool. The person who sees the trap can say, I am in debt, but my life is not over. I need normal, but I will not buy fake normal with borrowed money. That sentence has power because it separates two things debt tries to fuse together. Your financial situation and your identity. Debt wants you to feel either careless or ashamed. Careless people keep spending. Ashamed people avoid looking. Both stay stuck. A clearer identity is different. I am someone cleaning up a balance. That is not glamorous, but it is active. It makes the debt temporary again. That matters because normalcy anchoring turns temporary problems into permanent atmospheres. You stop seeing debt as something to exit and start seeing it as the weather of your life. The payoff is to make debt strange again. Not terrifying. Strange. Strange enough that you notice it. Strange enough that a purchase inside it feels like a decision, not an automatic continuation of your routine. Strange enough that you do not let one hard month become your personality. This is also why early debt matters so much. The first time you normalize borrowing for lifestyle, your brain writes a script. It learns that discomfort can be postponed. It learns that future income can be pulled forward. It learns that stress can be softened by access. The numbers may be small at first, but the pattern is not small. The pattern is the product. Banks earn from the pattern. Apps earn from the pattern. Lifestyle marketing feeds the pattern. Social media decorates the pattern. You are told that the issue is a lack of budgeting. Sometimes it is. But often, the deeper issue is that your brain is trying to keep you emotionally normal inside a situation that should still feel abnormal. Seeing that does not magically clear the debt, but it removes the confusion. You stop asking why you keep doing this when you know better. You know better. You are just using spending to solve a feeling that knowledge cannot touch. So the work becomes more precise. You are not fighting shopping. You are fighting the borrowed version of normal. You are not trying to become someone who never wants comfort. You are trying to stop paying interest on comfort. That reframe is everything. Your debt is not proof that you failed, but feeling normal in debt is a signal your brain has adapted to something that needs your attention. The goal is not to panic. The goal is to wake the signal back up. This is one of the invisible games money plays with your mind. The dangerous part is rarely the obvious pain. It is the moment the pain becomes familiar. The first loan feels like a warning. The fifth payment feels like a routine. The first purchase on borrowed money feels heavy. The next one feels like life. That is how a trap becomes a lifestyle, without ever announcing itself. And debt is only one version of this pattern. There are dozens of good feelings in money that quietly rewrite you. Feeling successful. Feeling generous. Feeling ahead. Feeling loyal to family. Feeling like you finally deserve better. None of those feelings are bad. But each one can become expensive when you do not understand what it is protecting. Next, we will look at another strange money pattern. Why people often copy the habits of people richer than them, and somehow end up even further behind. If this resonated, the channel is built around exactly these patterns. Subscribe if you want to see them all.